All right, the bell's rung, Wednesday's in the books. And if you're just looking at the headlines, you're probably breathing a sigh of relief, thinking the danger's past. Let me tell you, that's not what the real tape is saying. Not at all. So stick with me. We're going to break down what's really happening. Because this thing, it's just getting started.
And that's the absolute bottom line tonight. You've got the talking heads on TV chirping about some unilateral extension of a ceasefire. It's complete noise. The physical markets, the ones that actually move stuff around the globe, they're telling a whole different, much darker story. And if you're not listening to them, you are about to get run over.
So, let's start with that illusion. The market, it looks strong on the surface, doesn't it? But what we saw today was a defiant squeeze in equities. Underneath all that, the markets that deal in things you can touch, steel, oil, they are screaming that this whole thing is a house of cards.
Now have a look at this closing tape. This is where it all starts to unravel. You see the S&P 500 printing a record close, everybody's high-fiving, but look closer. Brent crude is absolutely ripping, up over 3.5%. Gold's getting slammed, and Bitcoin is jumping. This isn't what a healthy, risk-on market looks like. This is a market showing signs of a major cardiac event. And this right here, this slide, says it all. On your left, you've got the fantasy, the S&P 500 pushing into blue skies. And on the right, you've got the hard reality, Brent crude screaming that we are on the edge of a major, major conflict. Now, one of these charts is telling you the truth. And I'll tell you right now, it isn't the one priced in dollars and dreams.
And here's the kicker. Even if you ignore everything else, technically, this equity market is on incredibly thin ice. We are stretched so far above the key moving averages, the levels that are supposed to act as a safety net. Think of it like a rubber band pulled almost to its breaking point. This market has zero room for error, and error is exactly what's brewing in the Strait.
So why is oil ripping like that? It's not some spreadsheet, it's not some dusty supply report from an agency. No. It's cold, hard steel moving on the water in the Strait of Hormuz. So forget all the diplomatic spin you're hearing, let's talk about what's actually happening.
This is the ground truth. On the same day the stock market was celebrating, Iran violated the so-called ceasefire. They fired on 3 commercial ships. They seized 2 more. Let's be crystal clear. This is not a peace process. This is classic gunboat diplomacy. It's a direct escalation that the equity markets are, for some reason, choosing to completely ignore. For now.
And make no mistake, the stakes here are as high as they possibly get. There's a plan, sitting in a folder in the White House, to take out Iran's entire power grid. It's called the power plant option. And with Tehran not even bothering to show up to the negotiating table, you can bet that bomb rack is loaded and ready to go.
Okay, this brings us to the single most critical part of this whole setup, the countdown. We're now in a window where the most important market indicator isn't jobs, it's not inflation, it's the clock on the wall. There is a hard, physical deadline that is coming this weekend, and it's going to force everyone's hand.
You know, in the intelligence world, they have a term for this. It's called a red folder window. It's when a geopolitical event has a fixed, unmovable deadline that just overrides everything else. All the algos, all the economic models, all of it. And that is exactly where we are right now. So here's how the next few days are going to play out. Today, Wednesday, the market just plugged its ears and pretended not to hear the cannons. By Friday, you're going to see the European Central Bank's inflation models flashing code red. And then comes Sunday, April 26th. That's the day the music stops. It's the day the oil storage tanks on Karg Island physically run out of room.
And why does that one day matter so much? Because once those tanks are full, Iran has to shut in their wells. And you don't just flip a switch to turn those back on. We are talking about permanent damage to their oil fields. We're talking about 500,000 barrels of oil per day just gone, vanished from global supply. The oil market is just starting to price that in. The equity market has no clue.
So this all sets up a purely binary outcome for this weekend. There is no middle ground. There's no muddling through. There are 2 paths forward, and they could not possibly be more different. This is not a time for nuance. It's a time for black and white decisions.
So here are the 2 scenarios. The bull case, we get a peace dividend. The immense pressure forces Iran to completely capitulate. A deal is announced, the algorithms go absolutely berserk, and we get a face-ripping rally towards 7,200 on the S&P. The bear case? This ceasefire was a trap all along. The Sunday deadline comes and goes with no deal. The wells get shut in, and we get a violent one-way ticket straight down to the 50-day moving average. It is boom or bust. There is no in-between.
So how do you trade this? What's the plan? Look, In a market this binary, this dangerous, you have one job. Just one. And that's to preserve your capital. Forget about getting rich this weekend. Your only goal is to make sure you're still standing and ready to fight on Monday morning.
In the equity market, this is the only number you need to have written down, 6,769. That's the 50-day exponential moving average. If this thing goes south over the weekend, that's our destination. And we are not going to gently test that level. We are going to crash right through it.
And for oil, it's even simpler. One number, $100. As long as Brent crude is trading north of $100 a barrel, the inflation trade is on, the pressure is on, and the hawks are in control. It's that simple.
So, here are your rules for survival. 1. Capital preservation is the only thing that matters. 2. Respect that Sunday trigger. If you wake up Sunday morning and there is no deal, you get flat, you get out of the way, period. 3 and 4 are simple battlefield rules. Small position sizes and tight stops. Don't be a hero. And 5, and this is the most important, do not trust a single headline about peace deals until you see commercial tankers moving freely through that strait. The water doesn't lie, ever.
All right, the ledger is closed for today. Stay disciplined. Watch these levels. Be ready. The real question isn't what the market's going to do next week. The real question is, what are you going to do? Are you ready for Sunday?